Hello and welcome. My name is Roger Quayle, and you are listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. Hello and welcome back to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. My name is Roger Quayle, and thank you for joining me. Today's episode is about one of Sheffield's great lost bands, a band called Vendino Pact. Vendino Pact were active in the post-punk period from the late 70s into the early 80s. And of course, it being 1979, support on this gig comes from the Stunt Kites. So here we go, it's Vendino Pact with the Stunt Kites at the Penguin Pub in Shire Green in Sheffield on Thursday the 25th of October 1979. The pub is called the Penguin, and it is so far off our usual patch that we might as well be hanging out with the Emperors and Rock Hoppers down at the South Pole. Lower Shire Green might be only a mile from my house, as the air rifle pellet-riddled crow flies, but this less than salubrious council estate has a reputation as a neighbourhood for ne'er-do-wells. I'm at the Penguin with my old school friends from the Stunt Kites, punk rock flies in Sheffield's musical ointment, and some friends of theirs, a new band called Vendino Pact, to whom I'd been introduced at a Clock DVA gig at the Penthouse a couple of weeks earlier. We are here as both bands are desperate to play gigs, and the main Sheffield circuit of the Limit, the Marples, the Saddle, the Broadfield and Nowsock at the university has either been done recently or remains out of reach. The Penguin Bar contains more characters than the Japanese alphabet, all sitting and supping on this Thursday night. A gauze-like fog of fags and farts is the only filter to the unremitting glare of the stark strip lighting. I'm telling Stunt Kites drummer Brent about my new discovery, a record and bookshop on Division Street called Rare N Racy. It's brilliant, I enthuse. Loads of great second-hand stuff, a proper Aladdin's cave. I got Evening Star by Frippanino, a reggae compilation, and Fahrenheit 451, all for £3. Until this discovery, I had only come across second-hand records and books in charity shops, usually rubbish by Max Bygraves and Barbara Cartland. To find somewhere that actually stocked decent stuff you wanted to buy at affordable prices was a revelation. As I entered my first autumn of unemployment, this was a new way to get my music and literature fix, and stretch my dole money that little bit further. Conversation turns to the debut album from Cabaret Voltaire, Mix Up, which has just been released. Through playing with Clock DVA, I've now met the Cabs a number of times. So I've bought the long player from Revolution Records in the Castle Market out of loyalty, friendship, and a masochistic desire to lacerate myself on the cutting edge of the Sheffield scene. We are distracted by an old bloke sitting alone close by, peevishly monologuing over a pint of mild.
He comes in smelling of fucking drugs and he's up and down them fucking stairs like a fucking baby elephant.
The sploshy clack of his dentures like castanets.
He's out all fucking night, he sleeps all fucking day, he's like a fucking vampire.
Peter Tinniswood's Uncle Stavely made flesh.
Get this end down to Gundal, all us get a drink down at Gundanors.
At the other end of the bar, Jeff Beck sings on the jukebox. Hi-ho silver lining, trying in vain to break through the grey autumnal clouds of nicotine, ale and bitterness that permeates the room. Someone finds the switch to flick off the fluorescent tubes, and Vendino Pact clamber up onto the low stage in the semi-murk. A five-piece made up of first-year students from the university, they lurch into their opening number. The two guitarists appear to be ill-matched. One is insolent and cherubic, the other ursine and brooding. But their respective playing styles mesh unexpectedly and surprisingly well. Sheffield salmon pastures meet crazy horses Zuma Beach. They are sturdily abetted by a nerdy-looking lad on a Hofner bass and a drummer who is an unseen but well-heard rhythmic presence. Front and centre is the singer, John Stewart, an elfin presence with a mop of floppy hair, cheekbones by Tamara de Lempica, and a rich, potent voice. Vendino Pact are not what you'd call punky. Their tense, writhing, anxious music calls to mind the Velvet Underground or early Pink Floyd. A slightly brittle psychedelia handled with a practical northern sensibility. The plumber at the gates of dawn. The song ends.
Play something we know.
Vendino Pact lean in, looking for purchase, hoping for a peg, nook or cranny that will lend a foothold on the Eiger of apathy that stands before them. Another pearlescent gem reveals itself. Shades of the only ones here. Sparkling shards of guitar fragment. Silver dust falling on oblivious ears. As John Stewart's haunted incantation, Howard Devoto meets the Lizard King, drifts out into the North Sheffield night on a mantle of players number 6 and general indifference. I'm impressed. 30 memorable minutes later, and the sonorous stargazing of Vendino Pact appears to have lulled the locals into a strangely becalmed torpor. Enter the Stunt Kites.
I've been in morgues with more atmosphere.
Deadpans John Allen, singer and provocateur-in-chief, as the Brillo-pad bellicosity of Europe scrapes into shape.
Shoot him in the head! Shoot him in the head!
Drink has been taken by both band and audience. I've seen the Stunt Kites soar on thermals of adrenaline and fire, but tonight their flight falters. There are false starts, fluffed solos, and botched endings.
Play some Elvis.
Elvis is a corpse. You can smell the stink from here.
And so it continues. The jowly, growly locals are as easy to wind up as a Chad Valley cuckoo clock. Unable to process this skinny streak of piss in a scruffy suit, with his posh, plum, not from round here BBC accent. He wails away with this shambolic shower of so-called musicians. But round here, when minds are closed, clenched fists soon follow. There is menace afoot, and verbal threats are shaping up to become physical actions as a mic stand is broken. Rescue comes in an unlikely shape. It's Uncle Stavely and a couple of other senior citizens.
Now then, leave him alone. He's just nowt but a daft lad.
And with this standoff, we are escorted from the premises by our ancient knights in faded flat caps. Once outside, we find the Vendino Pact lads, anxiously protecting the gear and the van, circling the wagon in front of the middle school miscreants who have gathered in the gloom of the car park. The only thing they've kicked so far is the tyres, and before that can change, we kangaroo hop the van up Mason Lathe Road, back to where we feel safe and sound. Later, at home, I'm lying on the sofa, headphones on, listening to Frippanino. Mum and Dad's living room barely illuminated by the lime green glow from the Sanyo Music Centre. I've discovered another new local band to get excited about, and got into a bit of a scrape alongside some old mates from school. And I'm slowly losing myself in the hypnotic index of metals. a good day. Vendino Pact, John Stewart, with Addy Mahon on drums, Andy Henley on bass, Brian Hall on lead guitar, and Steve Richmond on rhythm guitar, were one of the great unsung Sheffield bands of the post-punk era. Their double A-side single, Identical Twins with Niagara, was released in 1982, and the band broke up in 1984. John Stewart went on to join Chak. You have been listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with your host, Roger Quayle. Thank you to Brent and John for the guest voices, to Simon for the music, and to Rionagh for the artwork. Join me again next time for another episode of My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. This is Roger Quayle saying thank you and bye-bye.